Good morning to those on the West Coast, and good afternoon to everyone else. I hope everyone's doing well on this wonderful Wednesday, the first, you know, briefing and Wednesday of, well, is it the first Wednesday of 2026? It's 2026 regardless. And welcome to, so appreciate all of you attending. I think, yeah, cool. We've got some folks on here. Awesome. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We've got quite a few attendees already, so that's great. As always, we've got a lot of content to get through, but please use the chat if you have questions about anything going on in the world that's happened or coming up, or anything regarding Safe Abroad, or anything regarding your own questions about your institution or what's happening. Feel free to post them. This is meant to be a kind of a community as well. I'm sure you probably aren't the only one with a particular concern or question and everything. We can help each other out. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Zach Einerson. I'm the client engagement lead here at Safe Abroad, and I am joined by two of my colleagues, Nolan and Caroline, and they'll go over most of the agenda today. We'll start off with recent incidents, and there's quite a bit to talk about, certainly in the last few weeks, and then, of course, the month ahead as well. And then go over some of the reports that we have that are already out and then upcoming. And yeah, get started. But I will pass it on to the team. All right, thank you all.
Everyone. Like Zach just said, my name is Caroline. I am an intelligence analyst and project manager here at SafeAbroad, and we'll be starting off our year review with the December 14th Bondi Beach shooting in Sydney, Australia. Two gunmen opened fire during a Hanukkah celebration on December 14th, killing 15 people. One shooter was shot and killed by police on site, while the other was hospitalized and later arrested and charged. Investigations into the incident indicated that the attack was meticulously planned over several months beforehand and seemed to be inspired by Islamic State group ideology. Road closures were, of course, put in place around the tourist destination after the incident. And at the time, Safe Abroad travelers were advised to avoid the Bondi area of Sydney and to monitor local media for updates, as at that time, the surviving shooter was already apprehended and the other shooter had already been killed.
Hi, my name is Nolan Perrin, and I'm the Intel Operations Manager here at Safe Abroad. On December 20, we saw another unfortunate mass attack. This one was a mass stabbing that left 3 dead and 11 injured in Taipei. The attack was perpetrated by a lone attacker. It was well premeditated, and he stabbed several people at multiple locations, one of which was Taipei's main metro station, before he was killed while in pursuit with the police due to a fall. The unfortunate tragedy led to a heightened security presence throughout the city, especially at those major events that attracted a lot of people over the holiday period, including the Taipei Marathon, which took place the next day, which saw 700 police officers align the race's route. Aside from large public events, crowded gathering spaces also saw increased police deployment, including the Jinyi Shopping District, the Jianti Avenue Plaza, MRT stations, along with other places. And these police officers also included plainclothed officers as well. So Safe Abroad travelers were advised to remain vigilant when in public and to monitor local media for updates on the situation.
Staying in Taiwan.
Then in December 30th, we saw China launching its largest ever military exercises encircling Taiwan, which prompted mass flight cancellations and delays on December 30th. You can see in the image here is a visualization of the 2025 exercises, which China labeled the Justice Mission 2025 exercises. Compared to prior exercises in 2022 and 2024, you can see the difference in scale between these different exercises. They took place over the course of 10 hours and did use live fire ammunition. And unique to these exercises, they simulated strikes on US-made weapons with the explicit goal of deterring outside intervention. The exercises affected approximately 857 flights, which were either rerouted because they were going through Taiwan's airspace, delayed, or canceled altogether. At the time, SafeAbroad travelers were advised to reconfirm any flights that they had going on, not just on December 30th, but on the following days, as delays and cancellations would cause residual effects on other flights, and to monitor local media for any updates on cancellations or resumption of normal services at airports.
Thank you. Over to Switzerland.
Yes, on the morning of January 1st, New Year's Day, at 1:30 in the morning, a fire broke out at a popular ski resort slash bar where youths like to attend, and unfortunately led to the death of 40 people and 116 other injuries. La Constellation was popular among youths, with over half of the victims being under the age of 21. And popular among international travelers as well, not just Swiss residents. The fire broke out after candles caught fire in the basement with the ceiling due to soundproofing material that was extremely flammable. And despite a rapid response by first responders, the fire just moved very quickly throughout the building, not really giving them enough time. Just to highlight how popular an international spot this was of the unfortunate victims who passed. 21 were Swiss, 9 were French, 6 were Italian, 1 was Belgian, 1 was Portuguese, 1 was Romanian, and 1 was Turk. So that really just highlights how popular this place was across the continent by international travelers. So SafeAbroad travelers were advised to avoid the area and to follow official directives at the time.
Thank you, Norman. And to Venezuela.
And then on January 3rd, we saw a U.S. military operation targeting and capturing Venezuelan President Maduro. And the greatest impact of travelers was that this caused massive flight cancellations and delays due to the closed airspace across the Caribbean. And it also sparked protests outside of U.S. embassies in several countries. The airspace was closed until Sunday, January 4th, and obviously resulted in thousands of canceled flights, stranding travelers until the restrictions were lifted. Lots of airlines indicated that they were adding additional flights and adding as many seats as possible in the following days to be able to accommodate the restricted airspace. But of course, there were residual delays, and any flights canceled or delayed pushed back other flights in the following days. In addition to this, we saw protests in several countries in the following days, including in Mexico, Spain, Turkey, and Greece. But that's not an exhaustive list at all. There are major protests around the world, specifically targeting U.S. embassies for the operation. SafeAbroad travelers were advised to reconfirm any flight status if they were anywhere in the Caribbean area or the under restricted airspace, and to expect residual delays after airspace restrictions were lifted. And of course, if they were in a country that was seeing protests around the U.S. embassy, to avoid approaching the U.S. embassy or avoid approaching protesters if they had to go to the U.S. embassy for whatever reason.
To Germany.
An attack against electrical infrastructure left tens of thousands of people in Berlin without power over several days. The attack was carried out by a group called Volkengruppe, which aimed to target wealthier neighborhoods. But unfortunately, power outages cascaded across many other neighborhoods as well, mostly affecting South Berlin. What this resulted in was houses losing heating and hot water, rail service disruptions, and even cell service in some locations going out. Power was just restored to all areas this morning. It was a gradual process, complicated by the frozen ground, making it difficult to get to damaged wires. And even as of yesterday, over 25,000 households were still without power in the Zellendorf district of Berlin. So, safe abroad travelers were advised to monitor local media and to charge their devices if possible.
Thank you. And to France.
Then in France, this started Monday, but it will continue for the full 10-day strike period into next Thursday. We're seeing a 10-day nationwide independent doctor strike that includes general practitioners and private practitioners during the entire 10-day period, which will limit access to general practitioners, not just in private practices, but also in emergency rooms that use private companies or private groups to staff their hospitals. Several unions are organizing the strike to denounce the proposed 2026 Social Security financing bill, which is limiting certain elements such as the ability of private practitioners to control what their prices are for their services, amongst other concerns. Thousands, I believe an estimated 4,500 healthcare professionals are participating, which is approximately 85% of the general and private practitioner population of France, which is not just shutting down the private practitioner groups there. It is also putting increasing strain on public hospitals, though, of course, public emergency services are still available. So safe abroad travelers were and are advised to reschedule any necessary medical appointments that they may have had during this period. And if possible, they were advised to restock any prescriptions that they needed in advance so that it wouldn't be affected by the strike.
Thank you. And so the month ahead, we've got a busy month as well. We'll get started in Uganda.
Yes, Uganda will be holding its presidential elections on January 15, creating several security concerns, especially related to protests. President Museveni has ruled around 4 decades there through non-democratic elections and suppressing opposition. That opposition suppression has been mostly through utilizing the police force to harshly break up opposition protests and rallies together, which has even led to condemnation by Amnesty International. Ahead of the protests, the police have declared that any live casts and live streaming of protests or quote unquote riots during the elections will be banned. And authorities have issued road closures in the past to make protests more difficult. Now, these will mostly take place most likely in Kampala, the capital, as well. And unfortunately, protests are rather likely, and hence the probable crackdown on those protests as well, as President Museveni has not shown any indications and changes in election rigging. So the results seem to be pretty preordained. Of course, that can always change. But that's what the signs are pointing to at this time. So safe abroad travelers are advised to avoid any protests, and they should also leave an area at the first sign of violence.
In Milan, Italy.
Then in Milan on the same day, we will see a 24-hour strike that will shut down Milan's ATM, metro, train, and bus services. The ATM is Milan's public transportation system. The exact timings of the strike are currently unknown, but it's likely to start early in the morning and last until the end of services on January 15th. The strike is being organized to demand privatization rights of the rail services, improved wages and working conditions. Typically in Italy and many other countries in Europe, during these strikes and walkouts, there is still guaranteed service hours during peak hours that the trains, buses, public service transportation will still operate. But currently, ATM has not made any official announcements as to when these guaranteed hours will be. So travelers are advised to monitor local media for updates on when those travel windows will be and to prepare alternate means of transportation, because even if the travel window works out for them, it's going to be extremely crowded and they may face transportation delays, they may face other complications. So preparing alternate means of transportation will avoid any possible issues that will arise from that.
Thanks, Caroline. And this, keep in mind that we've got in a few weeks' time after this date, the Olympics beginning on the 6th of February in Milan and, of course, the northern parts of Italy. So assuming this actually maintains to be a 24-hour strike and not a continuance or a repeat during that time, hopefully we will see any interruptions with an increase of travelers to Milan and off to India.
Yes, the 26th is Republic Day in India, which causes massive celebrations across the country, but most notably in the capital, New Delhi. Republic Day celebrates the Indian Constitution coming into force and India's transition from a dominion to a republic. It's celebrated with parades, speeches, and cultural events, the largest of which you can see in the picture down there in New Delhi. 77,000 people attended around that last year in 2025, and similar numbers are expected again. In fact, they've even had to limit the number of ticket sales due to demand. Significant road closures also take place due to the parade, which is the central event in New Delhi. Not only on the day of, but in the days leading up to during practice runs. Travelers can also expect heightened security during this time, as many world leaders also are in attendance. They should also keep in mind that Republic Day is a national holiday in India, meaning that most businesses, schools, and government offices will be closed. So, safe abroad travelers are advised to maintain awareness in large crowds and also to build in some buffer time if they plan on traveling in and around the New Delhi area.
Belgium.
All right, so Belgium will see obviously different but similar transportation strikes towards the end of January 26th to 30th. Railway union members will strike, which is expected to disrupt rail services. But like Italy, Belgium has minimum service guarantees. They just have not announced the hours for that. So the unions are particularly protesting the end of tenure at the National Railway Company, SNCB, NMBS, and the Rail Infrastructure Group, Infrabel. Prior negotiations were unsuccessful. I believe they've had 2 rounds of negotiations already. So protest leaders have and union leaders have indicated that there is very little likelihood of a resolution coming before the protest. So the protest is very likely to go through. Again, minimum service is expected, but the details of exact hours that will be available won't be available or won't be provided until a couple days before the strike begins. So again, travelers should adjust their travel plans, prepare ultimate means of transportation to accommodate those hours potentially not working for them, and then crowded services, as well as anticipate travel delays and potential disruptions on the railways.
All right, thank you. And so that brings us to the end. You're welcome to ask any questions. I'm going to put a link in the chat to our upcoming community chat, which is our webinars that happen every month on different topics. The one coming up that I'll be hosting next week, Friday, is on global events in 2026. So starting with the Olympics and Carnival and the World Cup happening in the summertime as well. So we'll be talking about that and how it impacts our travelers as well. In the meantime, please, I'm going to still be here for a few more minutes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself. If you have questions for our intelligence analyst team, please unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat. We'll have to discuss. And of course, you can always contact us via phone there at the bottom left and the email on the bottom right. We do on our website have a way to schedule a meeting with me as well through Calendly if you'd like to talk a bit more specific about your institution's needs or questions about safety abroad and risk management and duty of care and all those fun terms we like to throw around. But I really appreciate all of your time. And with that, I will release you to the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of the week and hope to see you again soon. again, I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes. So take care.